Welcome to the Lean Podcast, where empowerment and alignment come together. I'm your host, Mahogany, here to guide you through inspiring stories of resilience, overcoming grief, health challenges, career struggles, and more. Together, we'll lean into strength, embrace growth, and discover the power of sharing experiences. Before we dive into today's episode, I'd like to start with a prayer. If you feel comfortable, I invite you to join me. Dear God, thank you for this space to uplift, inspire, and empower. Bless the woman sharing her story today and those who are listening. May this podcast be a source of hope, healing, and alignment with your purpose for our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all. So I'm really excited to introduce to you today Issia Grate, wellness coach, an amazing person I've been so honored to meet through the health and fitness industry. Help me welcome Issia Grate.
What's up? What's up?
Hey, Issia, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. I'm doing amazing. It's nice to see you.
It's so good to see you, and thank you for taking time out of your day to spend it here with us at the Lean Empowerment Network. So, if
Of
you
course, of
could
course.
tell us a little bit about yourself outside of the topic we're discussing today, which is mental health. Who are you?
So a little bit about myself. Well, I am an online wellness coach. I am now the owner of Build a Beast LLC, which is really cool. So
Hey,
expanding, yes, yes. But in my online wellness coaching, I'm also a full-time systems engineer. So I do that part-time. I am also a podcaster now, a newbie, a baby at it.
hey.
So so I'm breaking the ice here. So I appreciate you for allowing me this opportunity. The Greater Good podcast is what it's called. So I'm excited to be here.
I love that, and I love seeing you still helping people in different ways, in different forms. It's a beautiful thing to see, most definitely. So today we're
Absolutely. Gotta help the people.
gotta help the people. We need help, man.
Got to. Yes.
We need help out here.
Yes.
Well, speaking of help, share a little bit with us about your mental health journey.
So honestly, I didn't know that I was dealing with mental health issues or speed bumps is what I call them, right? We don't want to give them a negative connotation. But I've noticed that I was dealing with these things once I got out of undergrad. So that was back in 2018. Just to preface it, I was just graduating from undergrad, didn't know where I was going next. So they called it post-grad depression. And then on top of that, I was grieving my dad's death. So I lost him junior year of college, and college fun, college things, you get to cope in negative ways, and it all caught up to me. So the summer of 2018, when I got back home, I didn't have the career that the people told me, oh, you go get a degree, you're gonna have a job, it's gonna be nice, you're gonna get a new car, new apartment, everything's gonna be great. I didn't have any of that. I was back at home with my mom. She's asking me what time I'm gonna come back, what time I'm doing this, doing that. I'm like, Mom, I was just at college for 4 years. Like, I will be back. So with that in mind, some of those days, like the days trickled down where I wasn't spending a lot of time out and having fun, partying with my friends. I had a lot of time to sit with Sia. And so that sitting with Sia led to a lot of those mental health thoughts and feelings and all the goods to surface. I didn't really get to cope my dad's death because at the time, like I said, I was suppressing it with all the fun that college comes with. And so with that, I had to find a healthier outlet. However, I didn't know how to voice it. I didn't know how to communicate it. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. I felt so alone. And it felt really weird because I was surrounded by family and friends and I felt so alone in the midst of all of that. And so with that, that summer, I found myself not eating either. I stopped eating. I would eat maybe once a day. My diet was probably a medium pizza, Hawaiian at that. Pineapples do go on pizza.
Yes.
Now with that, with the as the chaser was wine. It was a bottle of wine. And so that was my diet for a couple of months. And to be honest, it all caught up to me. I found myself in DR. I was taking a trip for my dad's to honor my dad's death. He loved to travel. He worked for the airport. So before he died, the day that he passed, he actually asked my stepmother, "Did we have our passports for Hawaii?" And so the first year that he passed, we went to Hawaii that summer, and then the following summer we went to Dominican Republic because that was like we had trips lined up and planned, and so that we followed through with it. And so when I got to Dominican Republic, we were on the beach and a professional photographer came around. He was taking pictures and We're like, all right, take pictures. Like, this is great. It's beautiful out there. And he's taking 5, 10, 20 pictures of me. I'm like, nope, try again. Nope, try again. And then I realized, it dawned on me that I hated the way I looked. I hated every picture that he took. I hated everything that came from the camera. I was like, dude, can you try another angle? Can you try this, that, and the third? And it just stacked on how I was feeling. So not only was I feeling these emotions, these feels, but I also started to see it. And that weighed on me even more to where during that trip, I took my hair out. I was trying to like change the way I looked during that trip, and it just was not a thing. I got back home, started taking showers in the dark because I didn't want to see myself, waking up with tears rolling out of my eyes, and I could not tell you why. And it was a scary experience. It really was. Like I said, I didn't know how to communicate it. I didn't know that, just going to my mom or anyone around, like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but something's not right. I don't feel like Sia. I'm not happy. I'm not excited about the days. Like, I just rather lay in my bed, probably lay under it and just not every day. And so I ended up going back to school. And I was like, okay, this would be a good distraction, right? Finding coping mechanisms. It was like, all right, I'm gonna go back to school, get another degree. I'm gonna have the job. That's gonna come with money, and I'm gonna be good. All these feelings and all these emotions will go to the wayside because I got money now. I got status. I got the house. I got the car. Like all these emotions, I don't have time to think about that. I'm gonna be grinding, right? And so I ended up in Michigan in grad school for systems engineering out there with my sister, and those feelings followed me. And so, with that, something that always sticks with me nowadays is you always follow yourself. You'll always follow you. So I was out there. I actually ended up going to the doctor, and I was telling my doctor, I was like, listen, this is the point where I'm about to just tell you everything. I don't feel good. And so we did a, I guess you call it like a, I don't know. She was asking me questions, rate 1 to 10, all of these cool things. And so I was answering them, and she came to the conclusion that I had mild depression. Gratefully, thankfully, it was mild. I thought it was doomsday. I thought things were just not going to go well for me at all. But that led me to, okay, see ya. Now we know, now there's a label to it. Now we need to do something different. And again, I didn't know how to find a therapist. I didn't know how to find an outlet. My outlet was now sports. I was like, okay, let's go to sports. Let's go box. Because literally you can bang the punching bag, you can hit the punching bag, let all the anger out, and you'll be good to go. And so what I did, I spent my last dime on that boxing gym membership, which was like 100 something dollars. And I was like, listen, I'm gonna go in here and give it everything I got, every 60-minute workout. I'm gonna go in. And it helped a little bit. However, I was still battling with myself. It was still there. And I was like, you know what? I go. I don't know who else to talk to. I ended up talking to my grandmother a lot. I called her every single day, like, Grandma, I want to drop out of school. Let's just go to the military. I literally was running from how I was feeling, trying to at least. And long story short, from there, I got my degree. I ended up back at home with the big girl job that everybody said I was going to get if I had the degree. Thank God. I'm grateful for it. However, I was still following myself. And
Mm,
so I ended
mm,
up finding a therapist during the pandemic. And I'm so grateful for that time because it allowed me to sit down and really go to my mom, like, Mom, I need help. I don't know what type of help, but I need to talk to somebody. I don't know who you know. My mom knows everybody, it seems like. So I was like, I need a therapist. I need help. And I ended up with a therapist. And here I am, probably on my third or fourth therapist, due to just trying to find what works for me, who works for me, who gets in there. I like to get to the root of things. I like to get to the bottom of it because, like I've shown, like I've said, you follow you everywhere you go. And so sometimes it's like surface level talks with therapists. Oh, and they seem like a mentor more than a therapist. But I need somebody to go back and dig it up and help me to uproot it so I can get away from it, like so I can get it out of here. And so here
mm,
I am. I have an amazing therapist. I go in person now, which is incredible. I've never been in person. I normally go, like, I started during the pandemic, so it was a lot of Zoom calls, FaceTime calls, things like that. And now I get to go sit on the big comfy couch, is what I call it. and she's been helping me a lot to uproot a lot of the different things, a lot of the different conditioning, different things like that to help me progress. And I feel like I'm finally progressing. So I'm grateful for it.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that you're progressing. And I love that you said sometimes you have to go to a couple of them to find the right fit. I know a lot of times people
Absolutely.
throw out therapy altogether because they've had one bad experience with the therapist. So when you let's take us back to 2018 when you graduated from undergrad and you're like, whoa, like this is not what I expected. Your dad passed away and things were just getting really dark for you. During that time before your vacation to the DR, what emotions were you battling with? Like, I know sadness is an emotion we all know, but take us a little deeper. Like, how were you feeling day to day?
Frustrated, annoyed, alone, lonely, the whole wheel of the negative side. And it's crazy because we start to learn the emotion wheel, the feeling wheel, and we know that we start to like I didn't even understand. I just thought sad. Oh, I'm sad. But now I'm starting to understand what that comes from. That may be a frustration, that may be a disappointment, that may be all of the above. And so for me, I felt frustrated because I felt like I was supposed to be way farther than I was. I was disappointed because I'm my worst critic. So growing up as an athlete, I've always been, oh, you need to run fast, you need to do this. So at that point, it wasn't run fast or do this or do that. It was you need to get up and smile. You need to be happy. And so it was like an internal conflict where externally I'm crying and I can't tell you why, but internally I'm like, you need to get it together, sis. Like, hurry up. So with that, it was that disappointment, it was that frustration. Like I said, I felt really, really lonely and just dark. It was just a
Dark
dark
place.
time. It was definitely a sad time. Yeah,
Wow, I can only imagine. Thanks for sharing. I think that's so
of
important
course.
because a lot of times people are maybe in a depression and not realize that they're in a depression and can't even put words to
Yes.
how they're feeling. Would it be safe to say that there was times that you just didn't want to be here anymore? I know you mentioned that after you graduated with your master's, but during the undergrad time, did you get those feelings too? Like, oh, I'm just over this whole thing.
Really minorly, yes. I wouldn't even say minorly. I mean, a lot of times they'll just be like, yeah, it would probably be easier to just not. And I would just be like, I'm tired, I'm over it. I just can't anymore. I'm exhausted. Like this fight I don't want to be God's strongest soldier at this point. Like I'm tired. I'm over it. So yes, at some points I was like, listen, I mean, be it just not do anything for the day, just lay in the bed and just soak and do whatever. Or yeah, it's crossed my mind once or twice. However, I never acted on it. So I'm thankful to God that He never allowed me to get to that.
Yes, I love that. We're so glad you're here. Um,
Yes.
so after your first couple therapists, like what kept you willing to try the next one and try the next one without just giving up on therapy altogether?
That's a great question. Initially, I had I've had a lot of mentors in my life, right? But I think each and every therapist had their own thing with them. Like they weren't some of them were surface level, okay, let's help you go full time in your business and this, that, and the third. However, there was something in that was really close to a mentor that I've probably had in network marketing, different things like that. And so I've always been one to love mentorship and be a mentee and learn and just get more well aware of what's going on and things like that. So with therapists, I was like, okay, this therapist is cool, but she feels like a mentor. So let's try another one. Like, I'm not opposed to trying again and different things like that. So some of them helped me in the seasons that I was in also. So that was really good, right? For the season that I was in, the way I communicated, the things that I was comfortable saying, how vulnerable I was able to be, the things that I could just even yeah, just communicate. Sometimes we just don't know. Like you said, we just don't know how we're feeling and we can't really elaborate or communicate. Listen, I just don't feel good. I don't know what else to tell you. So some therapists, I think each of them was a stepping stone to where I am now to really be vulnerable and just get in there and just let it rip. And I go in there, I'm like, Tiffany, listen. And I just let it rip. And I feel like each therapist has been that stepping stone to get to where I am. So they serve their seasons for sure. They definitely help. Some of them help with relationship things, and I was going through that, and some of them help with going full time in my business, like I mentioned, business things versus career. And so I think they were seasonal, for a reason.
I love that. Stepping stones. That's a beautiful way to put it. I'm like scared to fire a therapist. Like, oh my God, am I ever gonna find someone like them again? Attachment issues, but that's for a different podcast.
That's for
Um,
sure. I actually some of them was because I moved, and some of them was because they, discontinued services. So, but I did have that feeling like, oh, I'm gonna miss them.
yeah,
Like we're becoming besties.
really though, like really, you know everything about me.
Yeah, you
I love
know
it.
everything about me. Yep.
So, coupled with therapy, what else, if anything else, has been a pillar in your mental health transformation?
So a lot of it was faith. Right? I found myself at a point where I never thought I would be on my hands and knees and face, like my grandmother would say. Why you back on your hands and knees, man? Hands, knees, face, like God, please. I don't know what I need to do, but help me. So I started leaning more into my faith, reading more of the Bible, listen more to sermons, not just on Sunday, but all throughout the week, just needing those reminders. And I'm grateful to network marketing for that as well, because we wake up and we're like, listen, let's listen to personal development. And from listening to personal development, yeah, they were cool. They were like good things to wake up and listen to. However, I knew I needed to be fed spiritually as well. And so I added on spiritual development. And they're two different things that
Yeah.
I've learned. And so with that, I'm grateful to network marketing for introducing me to personal development, because it stemmed me really taking my spiritual development seriously, more serious. And then also with that, fitness, of course. Fitness has always been my safe haven. I've always been in sports since the age of 4, swimming competitively. So any type of sport, I'm game. I'm with it. Right. So with that, just finding, I guess in my older age, there was no organized sports, right? There was no organized basketball team, AAU, travel basketball to keep myself busy. And so I had to find my love in the gym. And so I found my love for the gym. And we can call that what it was. I ended up being a bodybuilder because of that. Just literally trying to distract myself, and you probably can agree to that.
Yeah.
Trying to distract myself from my thoughts and things like that. But fitness has definitely been a staple, but faith always. Faith first and fitness after.
Yes, I love it so much. I love this the spiritual development because we hear so much about
Yes.
personal development, and a lot of times we
Hmm.
are lacking on that spiritual development side because man can only tell us so much. So that's
Oh my
awesome.
goodness. Yes. And they go hand in hand, but I wake up every morning now, spiritual development first, and I'll listen to the personal development after that.
Yes, that's also important. So I know that you said when you were like, okay, I need to do something, you started boxing, you picked up boxing with your last couple $100. At that point, was the boxing to help with your physical, or were you going into that like, I know I need this mentally?
I literally have a picture of my first time going in there. I bought the gloves. I went all out. I was like, listen, I'm maxing out whatever credit card I got. And I posted a picture of my gloves and I said, time to fight back.
Mm,
And so the reason for going to boxing was not for fitness, mainly. I knew I was going to get a calorie burned and all of that cool stuff, but it was not for fitness. It was more so for my mental clarity, my mental health, just to blow off steam, if you will. And so when I went in that boxing gym, I was thinking about everything from how I felt that morning to the paper that was due that evening to the what did I have? Discrete math at the time. Those those crazy tests that we had during that time. So everything, I saw the bag as my mental health, trying to fight back. But everything I was going through that during that time, it was definitely a coping mechanism for sure.
I love it. So after you started picking up boxing, did you like put down drinking and hanging out in the clubs and stuff with your friends at that point, or did that come after?
So that actually came when I graduated from college. I ended up back at home. My best friends were home, but we didn't go out much. We would socially drink together and have movie parties and just little cute stuff like that, game nights and stuff. So once I graduated from undergrad, thankfully, that was like the turning point. That was like the cutoff. Also with that too, when I started going to school, I was out there with my sister and I was so busy, I didn't have time to do none of that. I didn't have time to drink. I didn't have time to go out to the club. I was in Detroit at the time too. I was like, this is too close to Baltimore. I'm not going out. I'm by myself too. I don't know anybody here. I will stay at home gladly. So the stars aligned for that, I will say, and helped me to not have those resources or not have those urges because I wasn't around the groups from college and being, that's just all we wanted to do at that point.
Yeah, because that's what we did in college. We went hard in the paint. Um,
Yep.
so,
Okay.
right? College, what a time to be alive. But tell us a bit
What a
about,
time.
oof, man, don't take me back. Tell us about,
Ever.
for real, tell us about your mental health when it comes to family. Do you feel like any of your family was affected due to your silent battles, or were they completely oblivious and you were just living your life like alone in your own head?
When I first started going through it, I was living it alone. Nobody really knew what was going on. I would cry it out on my way to work, cry it out in my room, get home, eat, and just say I'm tired and go to bed or
Hmm.
go in my room, and nobody would come and bother me. Oh, I'm tired. I'm just tired. I'm just tired. I'm just gonna go to sleep. And so they didn't bother me. And so during that time, for a couple of months, it was like I was alone and nobody knew what was going on. One of my friends did know, however. I did tell her because she would ask me, did I eat? And I'm like, no, I didn't actually. And so she was the one who provided the pizza and the bottle of wine. So thank God for her because she made me eat. She would come over and force me to eat. Not force me to eat, but she would come over and be like, hey, pizza, we're having pizza, we're eating, let's do this. Like, let's go for it. And so that's where my medium pizza and wine diet came from. She was just making sure that I was eating because she did notice that I wasn't eating much. During the time, I was also a camp counselor, so I was running around with kids all day, and I would eat like their snacks, so like the bowls of cereal. I would eat like the Wheaties or whatever it was. So I was not eating at all. I was not eating meals at all. And she would just be like, did you eat today? Nope. And so 10 minutes later, she would pull up and the pizza was on its way as well. And so I felt like I was in a bubble for sure. It was only one person that knew. And then after a while, I was like, okay, somebody else needs to know. I would call my grandmother and cry to her, but I think she just thought I was frustrated with school and didn't know where to go with life. Like I just wanted to figure out my career choice. And that's how I prefaced it to her, because again, I could not communicate what I was going through. I didn't know how to say it. And then also, I don't know if it's our society or what, but sometimes you don't want to feel weak. You don't want to seem weak to those around you. You don't want to be like, oh, I feel like I need therapy, or I feel like I'm sad, or like, what you sad for? Go get something, like, go find something to do. So that busy lifestyle is something that I grew up in, just staying busy, staying busy, staying busy. So honestly, I might have been depressed and trying to figure it out for a long time, but I stayed busy to keep it covered up and just to keep going.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that at
Yeah.
least one person knew. I think it's so important when battling with any type of mental health, whether it be like, minor depression or like major
Hmm.
PTSD or whatever it is. It's really
Yeah.
important to at least find one safe space that you can speak to without
Absolutely.
without stressing
Absolutely.
out the grandmas. Because I know me too. I don't like
Right.
to tell my grandma too much. I'm like, it's okay, it's good.
We're good. Everything's great.
Seriously, play it off like that sometimes.
Yes.
Um, so, what is a word or some words of encouragement that you would offer to someone who is going through a silent mental health battle right now?
Some encouragement for you just to know that you are not alone, first and foremost. Even the strongest soldiers or those out there that look the strongest and may present themselves as they got it all together, sometimes they are the ones. So I would encourage you to find help, and like you said, Mahogany, just having that one person to connect with, at least one person to share how you're feeling and different things like that, and do not hesitate to go to therapy. I think of it more preventative, preventative now than anything. I understand that I go through seasonal depression and I grieve during this time because all my losses, all my close losses start from September and they go till January, the end of January. And so I know this the winter season and then it's the holidays on top of that. Like you want to have them around for holidays. And so I understand this. And so I sign up for therapy every year about August. But I think I'm gonna rock with my therapist for like year round. But I signed up for therapy August, September. I'm like, yep, let's do it. So you can use it as a preventative measure if you still feel like even if you feel like, okay, I'm good, I got it all together, everything is getting back on track. Still, go and share whatever it is that's on your mind. But I do want to encourage you that you're not alone. You're strong, you're powerful, you're worth it, right? Like we need you here. Everybody plays their perfect part in I call it the puzzle of life, of this world.
Hmm.
Everybody has their perfect piece to the puzzle, and we can't be a masterpiece without your piece here. So continue showing up, continue doing the best you can in whatever that means to you, right? Just like Mahogany said earlier, maybe maybe the gym and being the strongest one on in your family and being the bodybuilder of the family and the healthiest one, that may not be your calling anymore. That may not be your season. So show up in the best that you can in that season and know that that's perfect.
Ooh, I love it so much. I feel empowered already. I'm like, all right, let's get it.
Let's do it.
What is a lesson, if it was just one takeaway that you've learned through going through your own story and your own challenges with mental health? What's your one takeaway that you have?
I think I hit on this a lot because I tell myself this all the time. You take yourself everywhere you go. Even throughout my moves, I've moved probably 3 or 4 times, 2 to 3 times, yeah, in the last maybe 3 months. I mean, 3 years, 4 years, right? And so for me leaving South Carolina for my undergrad, going back home to Baltimore, then leaving and going to Michigan, and then I'm going back to Baltimore. And then I left Baltimore thinking that I'd come to Florida and everything would be sunshine and palm trees, which it is. However, my mental health still is a thing that I still need to make sure that I'm taking care of. So you always take yourself with you, so that's why it's important to find the root of it all and try to uproot from there. Don't try to pull the leaves from the tree. That's not going to work. Don't try to decorate the tree. Don't try to chop a branch off. No, get to the roots of it all and figure out what that looks like for you, how you can uproot it so that we can be better tomorrow for those around us as well.
Ooh, I love that so much. And your story just pretty much speaks to everything you just said. Now that I'm like playing it all back in my head. So I really appreciate you so much, Asia, coming on today and sharing with us about something that a lot of us find vulnerable, such as mental health, and making it less taboo by just speaking out and sharing your story. Because hearing your story and knowing your story, it doesn't match up to the Issia that I know and see every day. So it's so true that we're glad you're here to be part of this masterpiece and contributing to all humankind to make this world a better place. So we appreciate you so much.
Of course, of course. Our fingerprint matters. We all have our own individual print. And so I find a lot of times I lean into that. I remind myself often, Sia, you have your own fingerprint. You're unique. You're powerful, and you make up this big old puzzle. So, and I'm glad you're here too. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're doing what you're doing. The Lean Podcast is amazing. I love what you're doing, and let's keep empowering.
Thank you. We absolutely will. So tell us where can we find you on the web? Where are some places we can find you?
Some places you can find me on Instagram _SEE_YAH. Sia is my nickname. And then you can also find me on YouTube at that same handle. I do have a website that should be launched by now once it's posted. It's buildabeastfactory.com for coaching, mentorship, and fitness and wellness and health. So you can find me there as well.
Awesome. Well, make sure y'all find her and connect because this is a great person to be connected to. Well, until
Oh,
next
you're
time. Oh, what are you gonna
until
say?
next time. I appreciate you,
Oh, I appreciate you too. Thank you so much, Asia.
of course.
Thank you for tuning into Lean. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to take on whatever challenges come your way. If this conversation resonated with you, make sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And don't forget to share it with someone who could use a little extra encouragement. The Lean podcast thrives because of listeners like you. So let's continue to build this community. Drop a comment, leave a review, and let us know what topics you'd love to hear more about. And if you haven't yet, be sure to join our Facebook group, the Ladies Empowerment and Alignment Network, where the conversation and support continues every day. Until next time, keep leaning into growth, empowerment, and alignment. Thanks for being a part of the Lean community.